Welcome to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers. They will help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. Now, here's your host, the Image Master, Holly Porter.
Hello and welcome everybody to another day of the podcast. We're so excited that you're here joining us because I have actually not only a killer, I shouldn't use killer, but an awesome businesswoman. She's actually my cousin and we grew up together. And so I just love her so much. And she is doing some fabulous things in the world. So I wanted to bring her on so that she could share her genius to you. And her name is Lynette Bushman. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. We had some great times together growing up. We got in a lot of trouble, but we had fun.
So true. And I didn't have very many girl cousins, you know. You were my older sister's age. And so it's like, you guys, what, 3 years older? And so it was like just enough difference that it was like, you didn't want to play with me.
Oh.
Yeah. I always had boy cousins my age, which was.
All my brothers, yep.
Yeah. Anyway, love it. I love being from a big family, don't you?
I do too.
So much fun. Well, so what's the name of your company?
It's LJ Sourcing Agency. And we have two offices in the United States, one here in Boise, Idaho, one in Atlanta, Georgia, and then we have two in China. So both are in Nanjing, and then we have a part-time office in Latin America, which is in Nicaragua.
Wow. I love how much it's exploded, and I love what you're doing. Like, I can't wait. I keep telling Lynette that we're going to work together. I've got a couple things in the works, and we're going to do some stuff. I know it, huh?
Yes.
So what started? Give us your story.
Okay. So years ago, when I was teaching school, I came up with an idea for a purse. And I've been, as you know, my mom's always been a seamstress. She's a master seamstress. She's amazing. And in the summer, I would go and work for her when I wasn't teaching, and I did all the tailoring and she did all the wedding, and it was a fun time to spend with her. And so I came up with an idea for a purse, not really knowing what I was doing other than I had a cute purse. And so it took me about 2 years to figure out how to make it, how to have it manufactured overseas. And I was really burned out because I didn't have anybody to help me. And I didn't realize when I started that the purse industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry with a B. And, you know, that's a crazy place to be in when you just have a cute purse, right? I didn't have a new invention, really. It was just cute. And I sold a bunch of them in our area. But again, I was really burned out because I didn't set it up right. I didn't do it right. I just jumped in like, you know, a lot of people do and tried to figure it out myself. So took about 6 months off, and I don't know what to do with my life. What am I going to do? And I had just finished cancer treatment too. So like, oh, what am I going to do here? So somebody came into my mom's shop while I was working for her and said, I have an idea for a product. And I could hardly talk to him because it was a cool product. He wanted my mom and I to do this prototype, but I could hardly talk to him because my head was going so fast. Like, I could help him with all these things. I know what to do. And so that was the genesis of starting my own company, and which my ex-husband had, we had owned, you know, his company together for a long time. So I've run businesses. My parents, of course, are entrepreneurs, always have been. So I have that background. So I decided, you know what, I could help people get their products on the market. So I started in textiles because that's my background, and grew. And then somebody asked me about a plastic, and I thought, you know, I've got a really good friend that's an engineer and owns his own company. I bet he could help me to develop the product. And then I know how to source it. I know how to find a factory, but I need to find somebody that can help me oversee it. Anyway, it was a process. So now we do everything but food. So in the last 10 years, we've done plastic, wood, metal. We even do electronics. We hired an engineer that does a lot of our apps, and he does websites. And I mean, we're full service now, from concept to on the shelf. And about half of our clients are existing companies that just need a better quality, a better price. And so they don't need development, right? They just needed a new manufacturer or somebody to oversee their manufacturing or something like that. So we have a combination of what we lovingly call our greenies that just have an idea, and then the other half is existing companies.
So, okay, so for somebody listening that's going, wow, that's kind of cool. Like I've thought of making something and I've never known where to go with it. Like
Right.
they're a greenie then. So
Right.
let's talk about the greenies for a minute. So if they were to contact you and say, hey, I have an idea, then what's the process for them? And then also share like costs involved, because people always wonder like, what's it going to cost me to do something, you know?
Right, right. So we always do a first consultation. Let's figure out if we actually can fit what you think you want to do, if we're a good match for you. We are the only sourcing agency that I know of that actually does product development. Most sourcing agencies will only find a factory and oversee it. So we're in from the beginning usually for the greenies. Or even if they have a product that or prototype that they've made, or maybe they have CAD drawings, we will come in at any point. So we need to have that consultation to figure out, where you are and what you need. And some people believe they're actually ready. And I lovingly say, not usually. They think they are, but do you have spec sheets? Have you tested it? Do you actually have prototypes, extra prototypes that can go off to the factories so they can see it? So there usually is a little bit of work, but sometimes, not very often, but sometimes you come across people that are actually ready to jump right into sourcing. And so that's that consultation, and we talk about how you're going to market this, because that's really key, which I can talk about in a minute. Let's talk about that next, marketing, because that's actually your most important job. People think it's their product. So cost, how we build it out is, what does it cost to finish developing or do all the development? And that's a case by case, as you can imagine. There, we just, you walk in and you have a line of athletic clothes you want to do, or are you building a plastic spatula, or, what are you doing? What are you building? And so it costs what it costs to develop. And so that's built out, and that when we give you our contract with the scope of work. Cost for sourcing with us is $825. And so that is for us to find the factory either in Latin America, United States, or China. And you get timelines and unit costs, and if there's mold costs or any of those costs to develop in China, meaning garage kits, which is a whole other topic, but sometimes there's other things that have to be done. And then, like I said, timelines and estimated shipping costs, so customs and duties and all that included, in which we oversee all that. And then we give you the unit price. So at that point, so it's hard to say what it costs because every product's different. I always tell people work backwards. So if your unit cost sitting on the store shelf is $10, that's what it sells for normally, something like what you want, or you think you can sell it for $10. Well, then your wholesale price would be $5, and your hard cost would be $250. So that's having it manufactured, raw materials, our management oversight and quality control, shipping, customs duties, everything landed, hard costs has to be $250. So is that realistic? Can we do that, right? So that's kind of gives you a feel of what it would cost and what are the minimums the factory requires. Every factory, depending on the product, has a different minimum.
Right. So are there, like, for someone that's listening going, oh my gosh, that seems overwhelming, I definitely would want to hire someone like you to do something like this, because that's me going, me. Ding, winner. So knowing that, is there investors that will help people if they have a product that of? Is that part of your services, or is that?
Yeah. So a couple years ago, that has been a big problem because people have to have seed money. And so I've had people, borrow seed money or 401ks or they had it out of their savings, but you really need seed money for development. Right. If you can't get seed money for development, you can take out a loan. We have a company that we work with that loans usually $100,000 to $150,000. They can go up to $250,000, but it's a little harder to get that much. So it's usually about $100,000. but it's a revolving account. It's interest free. It's a great program. But the problem is if you do it at development, you got to start paying it back probably before you even start sales, because that's a long process to develop something, find a manufacturer, get it manufactured, and then get it here. People think that that happens in 6 months and they'll have it on the shelf, and that's not reality. Some things take 2 years. Granted, some things only take 1 year, but I've had projects that have taken 3 years because they're so complicated and people just don't realize that. So if you got a loan and you're interest free for a year and it took you 3 years to get it on the shelf, you're paying that back. So I feel like you should have seed money somewhere. And then if you need to get a loan through the company we use, you can. There's also angel investors, but they don't like to do the beginning either. And banks won't do the beginning. So seed money, I've found, is the hardest. And I agree with you. You've got to figure out a partner or someone that will help you with that seed money, or have it, or be willing to risk it.
Well, and I think you've got to be pretty generous with them. If they're willing to take the risk on you, the return's got to be worth it for them, is what I found. Yeah.
Right. And that's hard because you're a startup company and you don't want to give it all away, but you have to think of it like, this is my first idea. I'm going to learn a lot. I may not make very much money, but it's my catalyst to do the other stuff I want to do. Because most people that have one idea usually have 3 or 4 or 5 ideas.
Well, usually you're right. Okay. So they get help. They get to this point where they have this product to sell. And then the huge challenge for most people is the marketing. So let's jump into that.
Okay. So years ago, people would get their product. We do all this stuff for them and they would order it and it would sit in their garage and they'd be mad at me. They'd be mad at themselves. They'd be mad at the world because they were so focused on the product. And there's an article put out by 2 women from Harvard that don't have anything to do with marketing. They just did a research study to say, why do 80% of the products that actually hit the market, so either a company or an individual actually did all that work, manufactured it, it got on the shelf, but 80% of them die?
Right.
Those are the statistics. And why does that happen? And they found it's because these people focused on the product and not the sales. So I say every day, at least 2 or 3 times, your most important job is the sales. Yes, you have to have a good product to sell. That's our job, making sure that it's sellable, it's at the right price, it's got all that once your idea has actually been vetted. And then you have to jump in and do sales. So we teach a marketing course to help people realize that, because they think if I build it, they'll come. And, that's a movie. It's not reality. So I feel like you should have 4 or 5 ways to sell it. And people think, well, one is like a website. Another one would be social media. No, that's together, right? Mm-hmm. Social media, the object of having social media is to get them to go to your website to buy it.
Yeah.
So it's really one. So how is your product sold? Do distribution companies sell it for you? Like if you're doing hair products, right? In salons. Yeah. You got to go sell them to the distribution company so then they can sell them for you. Can you go to trade shows? There's just so many ways to sell products. You have to zoom in on what's the low-hanging fruit to start. Right? You're not going to be able to get into Costco or big box stores in the beginning. You just won't. And the reason is because you don't have sales. So what's the number one question? Everybody loves the show Shark Tank. What's the number one question? What are your sales?
Yeah. Well,
and so
I sat on one of those panels. I wasn't the shark. I was the one presenting. And honestly, to be guilty, I paid $5,000 for a pitch. That totally failed. All they cared about was my sales. And it was an invention that we had 4 patents for, but we didn't, that's where we were. That's why we're here, is because we need to know where to go from here. And they get you. They don't call sharks for nothing.
That's a hard lesson. So how are you going to sell that first order, right? How are you going to do it? Sales, social media, whatever that is. You can use Kickstarter as an advertisement. You can also raise money, but I like to look at it as advertising. Social media is huge for that. So if you can sell your first order, which usually is about 2,000 to 3,000 units, is a pretty good average for a minimum order. If you can get those sold and prove your concept, Now you can talk to like smaller, not big box, but a smaller regional company that might put you in 4 or 5 stores. And then you just have this natural growth that happens. And pretty soon you can be there, but it takes time and you have to be patient. And what's the low hanging fruit that you can get easily?
Right. Oh, it's also interesting. I had something that came up when you were talking about the marketing. You work with products, but your program that you're working on, it's 7 weeks, I think you said, right?
Yes.
So could people like I'm a coach, can they use the same concepts to sell their online programs or group programs? Can they use the same, like, I'm just thinking if somebody was to hear this and say, I love her, I want to work with her, but I don't have a product and I don't think I will in the near future, but I'm my own product. Could you?
Right.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
So we do a lot of service-based and coaches because the methodology is the same, right? And the course is actually a research project, right? I give you assignments every week. We meet for 2 hours. The first hour, we're going over your assignments, what you learned, what you gathered. The second hour is a training and teaching and setting you up for the next week's assignments that you'll be doing. So it's a big research project. So the principles apply the same. So I've had people with service industries and coaches take the class.
Yeah, I would think so. That's why I wanted to bring it up because
thank you.
That, yeah. Okay, so so when you do the marketing and you're teaching them this after they have that product, and then I know you said they've got to make sure they have plenty of money to market it. So you might have an investor that helped you have that product. So to not make it sit in the garage, you want to get it out in the stores like you talked about, and that's part of the marketing. So would you say, is there a formula like for the marketing? Like if you spent $20,000 to get it out and get a little bit of product or whatever, I'm just using numbers. I'm not picking anything realistic probably, but and would you say the marketing is going to be, now you need 3 times that to market the product? I mean, what would you say?
It really depends on the product. So the marketing course helps set that up. What are you going to do? What are those 4 or 5 ways to sell? Now, building a website, you can spend $5,000 or you can spend $10,000. It depends on your market. So if you have a high-end product that's going to like spas and resorts, you're going to do all the bells and whistles and you're going to do a $10,000 website, and then your social media will have professional videos. But if you have, a little gadget that's $10, okay, let's only spend $4,000 or $5,000 on a website, and our social media will be $200 a month because we can just do on the weekends and we can reach lots of people, and so the marketing is less. But I generally say that you need at least $50,000 to market.
Okay.
It's a just pretty general, unless it's a real high-end product. You put it all together and it's, in that year you will spend it. You will definitely spend it on all, because you have to set everything up. Everything has to be set up, websites and social media. And if you're going to go to trade shows, all the banners and the, brochures or whatever you're going to do, that's just expense. Now, a lot of that stuff can carry over, and you may not spend as much in the second year, but you'll probably spend close because now you're sold a few, right? And now you got to think of, where am I going next? So you definitely should budget based on what you're going to do. Don't just pick one way. Those are the people that have their stuff in their garage. They thought, I'll just put it on a website and everybody will come. Those are the people that, it's still in their garage, actually.
Yeah, right. Okay. Oh, this is such good information, and it's so different than anything. I mean, this whole concept's different than anything I've ever had on my show, and I love it because I love you. And I think you can help a lot of people with this. So, okay. So I know you said you had something special you could offer that you do as part of a service that you offer. Do you want to talk about that first?
Sure. So I can do an analysis for anybody that has a basic plan. I mean, you can't be too green, right? You gotta have some kind of written out plan of how you're gonna market. And if you would like us to do an analysis, we normally charge $350 for that. But for your listeners, I would do it for $199.
Wow.
So it's an analysis. Once you send it to us, it's an analysis for our team to go through. We take about an hour. We talk about it. We look at it. We really kind of brainstorm. And then it's an hour conversation with either myself or one of our other specialists to say, here's what you should do next. Here are some ideas. So we it's more than analysis. It's like also setting you up for how else you should think about your service or product or coaching.
Oh, and that's so valuable. And thank you for being so generous, because that's a huge thing that people don't realize, when they.
That's very important.
Oh.
It's very important.
Got to be the first step.
Yeah, it is the first step. And again, people don't think about it. I'm just going to throw myself out there or my product out there, and people will come and, well, they don't know about you. You might be the world's greatest coach, but if they don't know about you, that's a problem.
Right.
And how do you want to be perceived? So that's one of the things that if it might help your listeners is when you're thinking about your marketing program is, what is the look of your business? Because really, even if you're a coach, you're still a business.
Yeah.
So you're not selling a product or a service, you're selling an idea.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that idea? And come up with a couple of words. Like, we're doing a gun accessory right now. So I'm having this gal really brainstorm, and she says, oh, I want to be strong. I want to be empowered. I want this to be this great, cool business that says, we're powerful as women. And I said, so is that all you want? Because that kind of leads us down that military, right? Some marketing agency, because when you're done with us, you can go hire a marketing agency or do it yourself, right?
Sure.
So I said, well, if you sent that to a marketing agency, they're going to say, okay, it's red, white, and blue, and it's, all this color. She goes, oh, I didn't think of that. No, I need a softer word.
Yeah.
So she added graceful, right? So now you've got this graceful, wonderful woman who's also strong and empowered. That's her whole picture. That's very different than if she'd not left that, if she had left that out.
Feminine side in.
Yes.
Where it was all masculine.
Right. So come up with those words and then write a couple paragraphs on what that means to you.
And I'll tell you what I've done when I've wanted to do a little research, because I have a pretty good social media following. I put things out there and ask people.
Yeah.
Because trust me, people love to give their opinion. And I always say, I love people's opinions, but I don't want them to be offended if I don't use it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I'll take it for whatever it's worth to me.
Right.
It's true. But,
right. You have to listen, but you have to also use your brain, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just part of business and entrepreneurship. And it's so awesome that we have, this is such a needed business that you do. And so I think a lot of people just don't know where to go,
They don't. And I think that's probably why we've grown so quickly in the last few years. We made it through the recession, and then we just took off afterwards when people started becoming more comfortable. And so, now we help a lot of the people that, Damon John from Shark Tank?
I don't.
He's the one that owns FUBU.
Oh, okay.
So he has a launch academy that teaches people how to run a business, and it's great. So he sends us their clients that have products, right? So we're a referral system for them. So we go to their summits twice a year, and it's kind of a nice little feather in our cap that, we can say, yeah, we work with Damon John.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, the only one I know is Kevin Harrington. We've had dinner a couple times, and
cool.
Yeah, I've worked with a couple of them, but
they're fun.
That's what they want. They want to know what your sales are. They're not your beginning people. So you got to start somewhere, so
yeah.
You could probably have a whole wing for greenies.
In the beginning we had a lot of greenies, and it's really hard to have a sustainable company with greenies. Yeah. I love them to death, and I love their energy, absolutely love their creativity, but they take longer to get to market because they just don't know what they don't know, right? And it's not been a process like a company would go through. So when a company approaches us, or we approach a company to help them, they've already gone through the whole sales thing. They already know how they're going to sell it. They already know what the product should look like and feel like and be.
Yeah.
We just need to manufacture it. And sometimes we do development for them, but usually we just go right into development.
Okay.
Right into sourcing and manufacturing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. Well, I appreciate you being on the show today, and anybody that wants to get a hold of Lynette and talk to her about her company and her awesome offer, we're going to post it in a link below, so you can click on there and find her. Do you want to just say where the best place is?
You can email me, Lynette, Lynette, at LJ Sourcing, I say it every day and I still miss it, .com. So Lynette at ljsourcing.com, or you can go onto our website, ljsourcing.com, and just do the contact us. That's super easy.
Great. Okay. So yes, I think, I'm excited to do something. I've wanted a product for years. I'm like, I got a few ideas, like you said. So
Yep.
Thank you so much again for joining us. And we might have to bring you back on another time to talk more about this.
Oh, I'd love to. We could totally do a whole show on just product development or just marketing.
Yeah, that would be fun. Okay.
So
we will do that then. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers. They will help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. You can learn more about them at theimagedesigners.com or email Holly at hollyporter.com.